Soulmate news, they tried to forget you, but one unexpected moment brought all their feelings rushing back. My beloved child, listen carefully, because this message begins with a truth that may touch the deepest part of your heart. They tried to forget you, but something happened that made forgetting you impossible. They thought enough time would erase the memories. They thought distance would weaken the connection. They thought keeping themselves busy would silence the questions. They told themselves that the past was the past, that you had become just another chapter, and that eventually your name would stop carrying emotion. But my beloved child, something unexpected happened. One ordinary moment became extraordinary because it brought everything back. A memory. A feeling. A conversation. A place. A song. A familiar expression. A simple reminder of you. And suddenly, everything they had pushed down came rushing back to the surface. They may have been going through their day normally when something reminded them of you, and for a moment they could not pretend anymore. They remembered how you made them feel. They remembered the connection. They remembered the moments they once thought were ordinary but now understand were precious. They remembered your voice. Your kindness. Your patience. Your presence. And perhaps most painfully, they remembered the way they treated you. My beloved child, sometimes the heart does not reveal the truth when we are surrounded by noise. It reveals the truth when one unexpected moment becomes quiet enough for us to feel everything we have been avoiding. That may be what happened to them. They may have tried to move on. They may have tried to convince themselves that you were no longer important. They may have spoken confidently to other people about being finished with the past. But then something triggered a memory, and suddenly the emotional wall they built began to crack. My beloved child, you may have felt forgotten. You may have believed that because they were silent, they no longer cared. You may have wondered whether they had replaced you emotionally. You may have asked yourself whether all those moments meant anything to them. But silence does not always tell the whole story. Sometimes people become silent because they do not know what to do with what they feel. Sometimes they avoid someone because facing that person means facing themselves. And sometimes distance is not evidence that the connection meant nothing. It is evidence that someone is struggling with what the connection means. My beloved child, they may have been trying to convince themselves that they made the right decision. Perhaps they told themselves that leaving was necessary. Perhaps they believed another path would be easier. Perhaps they thought they could find someone else and simply replace the emotional space you occupied. But the heart does not work like a vacant room. You cannot always remove one person and replace them with another without carrying the memories forward. They may have met new people. They may have had new conversations. They may have laughed again. They may have created new routines. But something inside them still remembered you. And then came that unexpected moment. Suddenly, the comparison was unavoidable. They may have realized that not everyone understands them the way you did. Not everyone remembers the details you remembered. Not everyone listens the way you listened. Not everyone makes them feel safe enough to be vulnerable. Not everyone carries the same emotional familiarity. And that realization may have hurt. My beloved child, perhaps they were sitting alone when the memory arrived. Perhaps they were driving somewhere and heard a song. Perhaps they walked past a place you once visited together. Perhaps someone said a phrase you used to say. Perhaps they saw someone who reminded them of you from a distance. Whatever it was, it may have opened a door inside their heart that they thought they had locked. And behind that door were all the feelings they never properly processed. The love. The regret. The longing. The unanswered questions. The what-ifs. The moments they wish they could relive. The conversations they wish they had handled differently. My beloved child, when a person tries to forget someone before they have truly healed, memories do not disappear. They simply become buried. And buried emotions can return unexpectedly. That does not necessarily mean they are ready to return to your life. It means something inside them is still unresolved. And that distinction matters. You must not confuse emotion with readiness. You must not confuse missing someone with being capable of loving them properly. My beloved child, perhaps they miss you deeply. But if they want to come back, they must also understand why they left. They must understand what happened. They must understand what they did. They must understand what hurt you. They must understand what needs to change. Otherwise, they will simply recreate the same cycle. You do not need another chapter that repeats the same pain. You deserve a new chapter built on new behavior. My beloved child, perhaps this unexpected moment was the first time they allowed themselves to admit, I still care. Maybe they had been denying it for months. Maybe they were afraid that admitting it would force them to make a decision. Maybe they feared that reaching out would expose their vulnerability. Maybe pride had kept them silent. But when the memory returned, pride became weaker than emotion. They may have stared at their phone. They may have searched your name. They may have wondered whether you would answer. They may have started writing a message and then stopped. They may have asked themselves whether too much time had passed. And perhaps that is where they are now, caught between wanting to reach out and fearing what will happen if they do. My beloved child, if they are in that place, do not chase them out of it. Let them decide. If they truly want to speak, they must find the courage to speak. If they truly want another chance, they must be willing to risk vulnerability. You cannot carry their courage for them. Your job is not to make it easier for them to return. Your job is to protect your peace while remaining open to truth. My beloved child, perhaps you have been waiting for a sign that they remember you. Maybe this is the sign you needed emotionally, but remember, your decisions should be based on real-life actions. You can take comfort in the possibility that someone still thinks about you, but do not build your future around assumptions. Let them show you. If they reach out, listen. If they apologize, evaluate. If they say they have changed, observe. If they promise something, wait to see whether the promise becomes a pattern. My beloved child, there is something beautiful about the way memory works. Sometimes the smallest details become the most powerful. They may not remember every conversation, but they may remember how you looked at them when they were struggling. They may remember how you encouraged them when they doubted themselves. They may remember your kindness when they expected judgment. They may remember the way you stayed patient when they were difficult. They may remember your laughter. They may remember your presence beside them during an ordinary day. And now that those moments are gone, they may realize how extraordinary they actually were. My beloved child, people often appreciate things differently after losing access to them. When something is always available, the mind can categorize it as normal. When it disappears, the heart begins to understand its value. They may now be discovering that you were not simply part of their routine. You were part of their emotional world. And when you left that world, something changed. My beloved child, perhaps the unexpected moment was not merely a memory. Perhaps it was a comparison. They may have experienced something with someone else and realized that it felt different. Maybe they had a difficult day and realized they no longer had you to talk to. Maybe they celebrated something and instinctively wanted to tell you. Maybe they experienced something funny and thought, they would have laughed at this. These moments can reveal how deeply someone was integrated into your life. And when that realization arrives, it can be painful. My beloved child, they may now be discovering that forgetting you is not the same as moving forward. They may have tried to replace the connection instead of processing it. They may have distracted themselves instead of healing. They may have avoided reflection because reflection would force them to admit what they lost. But eventually, distractions become quiet. Eventually, nights become long. Eventually, the mind returns to what the heart never finished. And that may be happening now. My beloved child, if they are thinking about you again, you do not need to feel guilty for still having feelings. You are human. Memories are powerful. Love leaves impressions. But you also do not need to romanticize everything that happened. Remember the good, but remember the lessons too. Remember the beautiful moments, but remember why you had to step away. Remember the connection, but remember the pain. You need the full picture. My beloved child, sometimes when we miss someone, our minds replay only the sweetest memories. We forget the confusion. We forget the unanswered questions. We forget the nights we cried. We forget how often we felt uncertain. Do not let nostalgia erase reality. If this person returns, you need the truth, not merely the beautiful memories. You need to know whether the circumstances that caused the separation have changed. You need to know whether both people have grown. You need to know whether the relationship can be healthier this time. My beloved child, perhaps they are asking themselves those same questions. Maybe they realize that simply returning is not enough. Maybe they understand that they need to approach you differently. Maybe they are thinking about what they would say. Maybe they are rehearsing an apology. Maybe they are wondering whether you would even listen. Their uncertainty may be real. But again, their uncertainty cannot become your burden. Let them work through it. My beloved child, you have already done your part. You loved. You tried. You communicated. You hoped. You waited. You learned. Now you have another responsibility: choose yourself. Choosing yourself does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop abandoning your own needs just to keep someone else close. It means you stop accepting crumbs because you are hungry for connection. It means you stop calling confusion love. It means you recognize that love should be accompanied by respect and consistency. My beloved child, perhaps the person who tried to forget you is realizing this too. They may be beginning to understand that what they lost was not simply a relationship. They lost access to someone who genuinely cared. They lost a person who saw them in ways others did not. They lost someone who knew their emotional language. And now they are learning that such connections are not easily replaced. My beloved child, but do not let this realization inflate your ego. Let it strengthen your understanding of your worth. There is a difference. You do not need to think, they regret losing me, so I have one. The healthier thought is, I now understand that my love had value, and I will never again give it away where it is not respected. That is growth. My beloved child, perhaps you spent too long thinking you were not enough. Perhaps their distance made you question your appearance, your personality, your value, or your ability to be loved. But their choices were never a measurement of your worth. People make decisions based on their fears, maturity, circumstances, wounds, and limitations. Sometimes they leave because they are incapable of receiving what you offer. That does not mean what you offered was worthless. My beloved child, perhaps they are finally realizing this now. They may be looking back and thinking, I had something real. And maybe they wish they had protected it. Maybe they wish they had communicated. Maybe they wish they had not allowed fear to control them. Maybe they wish they had listened. But regret can teach, if a person is willing to learn from it. My beloved child, if their unexpected realization leads them back to you, you do not need to punish them. You also do not need to immediately welcome them back. You can be kind and cautious at the same time. You can hear them without surrendering your boundaries. You can forgive while still requiring proof of change. You can acknowledge their feelings without promising anything. This is emotional maturity. My beloved child, perhaps their biggest fear is that you no longer feel the same. They may wonder whether you have healed. They may wonder whether someone else has captured your attention. They may wonder whether you would even recognize the person they have become. And maybe this fear is forcing them to move closer to a decision. But again, let them make it. You do not need to give them hints. You do not need to provoke them. You do not need to send indirect messages. If they have something to say, let them say it. My beloved child, direct communication is healthier than endless guessing. If they reach out, encourage clarity. If they remain silent, continue living. You cannot build a relationship with someone who communicates only through signs and silence. Eventually, someone has to speak. My beloved child, maybe the unexpected moment was the first crack in their denial. Perhaps they thought they had successfully moved on until one small thing brought you back. Then another memory appeared. Then another. Suddenly, your presence seemed to be everywhere. They might remember the way you said their name. The way you looked at them. The way you supported them. The way you challenged them to grow. The way you made them feel seen. And once the memories start returning, it can be difficult to stop them. My beloved child, perhaps they have been asking themselves why you still occupy such a large space in their mind. They may have wondered why they think about you during quiet moments. They may have wondered why they compare others to you. They may have wondered why they still care about what happens in your life. And the answer may be simple: the connection mattered to them more than they admitted. But again, knowing that is not the same as being ready for a healthy relationship. They must prove that part. My beloved child, I want you to imagine that they are standing at the edge of a decision. Behind them is the life they built without you. Ahead of them is the possibility of reconnecting. They know returning would require vulnerability. They know they might be rejected. They know they would have to face the past. They know they cannot simply pretend nothing happened. And that is why the decision may take time. They may need to gather courage. They may need to confront pride. They may need to accept that they were wrong. But if they genuinely want you, they will eventually have to choose honesty over comfort. My beloved child, when that moment comes, do not rescue them from discomfort. Let them speak. Let them explain. Let them own what happened. Sometimes the most important part of a reunion is not the first, "I miss you." It is the first honest conversation about why things fell apart. Without that conversation, the relationship remains vulnerable to the same wounds. My beloved child, you deserve a love story that grows through truth. You deserve someone who can look you in the eyes and say, "I understand where I went wrong." You deserve someone who does not blame you for everything. You deserve someone who can apologize without adding excuses. You deserve someone who can hear your pain without becoming defensive. If this person has become capable of that, then perhaps the unexpected moment truly changed something. If not, then the memory may simply be a lesson for them. My beloved child, either way, you continue. Your life does not depend on their realization. Your future does not depend on their return. Your happiness does not depend on their message. You can hope while still moving forward. You can love while still living. You can remember while still healing. My beloved child, perhaps you have been asking why the connection was so difficult. Maybe it was because both people had lessons to learn. Maybe the separation forced you to grow. Maybe it forced them to face parts of themselves they avoided. Maybe the distance was necessary for both people to understand what closeness had hidden. Sometimes people only appreciate the depth of a connection when they are no longer inside it. Distance can reveal what proximity conceals. My beloved child, if they are now remembering you, perhaps distance has done exactly that. It has shown them the value of what they once had. But your job is not to reverse the distance. Your job is to remain grounded while they decide what to do with their realization. My beloved child, do not let one unexpected moment convince you that everything is destined to return exactly as before. Life is more complex than that. People change. Circumstances change. Feelings change. What matters is what happens next. If they use this realization as motivation to become more honest, that is meaningful. If they use it merely as an emotional moment and then return to old habits, it means the realization was not enough. You need transformation, not temporary emotion. My beloved child, this is why patience is important. You do not need to know the answer today. Let time show you. Time exposes sincerity. Time reveals whether a person is serious. Anyone can make a promise during an emotional moment. Consistency requires effort after the emotion fades. So if they return, do not only listen to the first conversation. Watch what happens afterward. My beloved child, perhaps their unexpected moment happened because they saw you living differently. Maybe they noticed your confidence. Maybe they noticed your peace. Maybe they saw that you are no longer chasing. And suddenly, they realized that you may actually be moving beyond them. That realization can awaken feelings that had been dormant. But once again, let your growth remain about you. Your peace is not a tool for attracting someone. It is your new way of life. My beloved child, you deserve to become so comfortable with yourself that someone else's presence feels like an addition, not a requirement. When you reach that place, relationships become healthier. You choose people because they enrich your life, not because you are terrified of being alone. You can walk away from unhealthy dynamics because your identity is not dependent on another person's attention. My beloved child, perhaps this is what your journey has been preparing you for. Not simply a reunion, but a healthier understanding of love. A love where both people are emotionally present. A love where neither person has to beg. A love where communication is normal. A love where boundaries are respected. A love where both people can grow. Whether that future includes this person or someone else, your healing prepares you for it. My beloved child, if they are thinking about you tonight, let them think. If they miss you, let them miss you. If they regret something, let them face it. If they want to contact you, let them find the courage. You do not need to chase their emotions. You have your own life to live. My beloved child, perhaps one day they will finally tell you what happened inside them. Perhaps they will say that something reminded them of you and suddenly everything came rushing back. Perhaps they will admit that they tried to forget. Perhaps they will confess that they were